Hello. Sweet, so here's the package. It's from Shenzhen Duanhun Industrial Company Limited, and it has a whole bunch of stuff in it. So let's just get it out and see what's inside. Sweet, so this is what's in the kit. Bunch of LEDs, you got 3 PCBs. So this power cable goes from 5 volts USB to, maybe this is a little bit bigger than 3.5. Not sure how big that is. We've got a switch, power connector. So this connector goes in there. We've got a battery compartment that will take 3 AA batteries, 2 screws with nuts as well, 5 transistors. The instruction booklet doesn't say what the transistor is. It's a BJT. I'm getting S9014C331. We've got some caps, got 5 caps. These caps are 47 microfarad, 16 volt. We've got a bunch of resistors. The resistance of them is 10k, then I've got 320, 2k, and 1k resistances, and then a whole bunch of LEDs. And these LEDs, I think my my diode mode on my multimeter makes them go cool. Takes them through a bunch of different colors. So we've got an instruction booklet, and there's 2 sides. As you can see, most of it is in written Chinese, but there is enough information on here to help you understand where bits and pieces are supposed to go. And looking at the PCB, it also has a lot of description on it as well to help with placing diodes, or in this case here, the LEDs, and then putting the resistances in the right place as well. Cool, I'm going to get into it. Cool, she done. I haven't done the smoke test yet. We'll see how that goes. This switch is a toggle switch that goes in and out. So just some tips with soldering. I recommend whenever you do one of the faces, do the diodes first and solder them all in, because then you can easily put like this face onto the desk and solder other stuff, and it'll be relatively stable. Otherwise, I've got one of these things that can hold in a PCB, but you can't do that if you have the diodes in, and so you could do the other ones first, but this doesn't really grip onto this shape the best. So I ended up using the desk a bit more often. So do the diodes first. When I was doing the diodes, I realized when I was putting them in that I was like, oh, hold on, I want them to be on the outside face. So I've kind of lined them up. I've done it, and you can see it's not the best job in the world. It's relatively, yeah, they're kind of off a little bit, but if you want to be really particular about it, you can. Oh, something to point out, it took me about 2 hours to do. You could go a lot quicker, especially if you have wire snips. You'll see in the time lapse I've just got a pair of pliers that I twist the things off. What's another tip? Oh, that's right, the resistors aren't labeled the same way for each of the faces. So the three PCBs have different names. One of them is the CT, so this is the CTR 30. That's the name of the PCBs, I think, or the model, the tree model. There's the CTR 30A PCB, which is this one that we're looking at right now. And then this is the CTR 30B, and that's on this piece of paper here. They tell you the bits and pieces. And then there's the CTR 30C, which is the base piece. Now the resistor values on the CTR 30B, notice here 1K and R6, but on the CTR 30A it's 1K and R4. The resistors are labeled on here in terms of what R number they are, and that's okay. Some of the 10K ones are labeled, but not all of them. The transistors, which are BJTs, 9014s, they're all the same, so you just chuck them in, it's fine. And the caps as well are all the same, so they can just be chucked in and they're fine. On the base plate it tells you where the positives should be. So I'm hoping that, notice that on the base there's an arrow, and then on CTR 30A there's another arrow, and I'm pretty sure those are supposed to line up because these two holes in the bottom are labeled positive, and then on the CTR 30B there's the other positive one, so you've got positive and positive, and so that must mean that these are the two negatives, but there's no real indication that the negatives are correct. On the top there's an LED, and it's just on one side, it's for the CTR 30A. So as I showed you, this is the switch, and it's cool, they've got a little silk screen showing you if it's off or on. No issues here in terms of putting the battery pack on. You don't have to have the battery pack if you don't wish. This was a little tricky getting these screws to meet with these nuts, but if you just play around a bit you'll get there. If you don't like the length of them, you can cut them off. That's the little plug that you could put 5 volts into, that I'm going to try out in a moment and see if this thing works. Otherwise, there's nothing else really particularly tricky about it. I'd say it would work as a beginner project if you were by yourself. Oh, something that I thought was cool, I'll see if I can bring it up on camera. You can actually see through and see the traces. I think it's just 2 layers. And some of them, the layers go along the side, and so if you can't find a trace, it might be going along this side here, going down. I'll try with the 5 volts first. So far so good. There's a nice click. Oh, that's quite tough, yeah. It's a good click into it, that's for sure. Oh, that's pretty. It does seem to go through various colours. We'll see what it looks like with the lights off. Oh, that's very pretty. Very bright. See, it goes, lights up the whole room. I'm just going to have to hit that again. I can't seem to get it to work with just the batteries. Not sure what's going on there. Hey guys, just one thing that's changed, or two things that have changed since I've finished the video. One of the things is that on the bottom here, I didn't know about this convention where you can use a cut piece of wire to secure a component, because this lead, or this plug, only has soldering components on, I believe it's closer in, and this little wire across helps to keep it secure, because you'll inevitably need to plug and unplug this thing all the time. It kind of clicks out. It's kind of a firm fit, and you'll want it to be secure, otherwise you'll end up breaking it off. It was always something I was concerned about, but that's something I learned. Another thing that I picked up, and this helps with how this Christmas tree actually works, and the signals that it goes through, and you'll see the difference between this one and the old video, is that some of the resistor values are too high. And so what I ended up doing was, like in this case, so the resistors that I changed following some advice from someone on AliExpress was to decrease the resistance of R2, R4, R6 and R7. So here's R6, and I just put in parallel a 220 ohm resistor. So I had a bunch of 220 ohm resistors that I added in. This one is R2, and I put in parallel a 220 ohm. And what is this one? That's R4, and then R7 is here. R7 specifically goes, I believe it goes to the top, this top LED, and it makes it go through the flashing sequences better. It'll do a bunch of fast ones and then a bunch of short ones as well. I'll show you in a moment. Cool, so there's just going to be some flashing lights. So I turn it on. So it goes through, it's relatively slow, and then it goes through a bunch of fast, and then it goes back to slow, and then fast again, and it goes backwards and forwards. And I believe that's to do with the voltages and the caps and the transistors all interacting, as well as the LEDs. I'm not going to go into those details, but it works way better than it did with the higher resistances. So that modification is a recommended from me. I'll put some of the details in the description. Oh, one other thing is the amount of power that this thing uses is hardly anything. This power pack that I have struggles even to really measure a power output. So 0.05 amps, or 0.3, we'll say 0.3 of a watt, a third of a watt. It's not too bad. Otherwise, Merry Christmas and stay safe.